Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. What are the secrets to being wealthy, healthy, and wise? For the next hour, Jeff goes beyond the headlines to discuss what's trending with today's movers, shakers, and newsmakers. Here's Jeff Crilley.
Good Saturday morning, DFW. A little bit rainy, but we're going to make it through. This is it's going to be a beautiful day, and we've got a great show today. We're going to begin our show with a man that I admire and have for a long time. He's a true visionary, Larry Hamilton. He's a developer, and you know many of his projects. You may not know him, but you will. Larry, welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Now, when you came to Dallas, because you moved here from Denver, there was not much going on in downtown Dallas, was there? Why don't you set the scene for us?
Well, it was pretty dead. Not during office hours, but during the evenings and weekends, there was not much action. There were 200 residential units downtown then.
Wow.
Inside the loop. Today, 10,000.
Good. Now, when you came from Denver, Denver was already kind of alive in the evening, wasn't it?
It was, yes, and the downtown had started to take off. And when I came to Dallas, it was sort of a Back to the Future experience, or it was like looking back in time at Denver. And we saw all these beautiful historic buildings. You could buy them by the pound.
Well, they used to have the joke. When I got to Dallas in the early 90s, they said, man, after 6 o'clock, you could shoot a cannon through downtown Dallas and not hit anyone. And you had the vision. You saw it. When you first started to invest in buildings in downtown Dallas, were people snickering, or what was the climate?
Oh, yes. We were naive, I have to admit. But I brought people from Denver who looked around and said, "No way." But there were beautiful historic buildings, classic revival buildings, Art Deco buildings built, with great architecture. But they were sitting empty. They'd outlived their usefulness as office buildings.
We're going to talk about your latest masterpiece in a second, but why don't you kind of take us through history? What was your first big project?
We came down because of the Timothy McVeigh trial, believe it or not. Because,
wow, really?
Yes, we opened a hotel in downtown Denver, the Magnolia Hotel, on 17th and Stout Street in 1995. And immediately thereafter, the Timothy McVeigh trial moved for a change of venue from Oklahoma City to Denver. And the U.S. Attorney and the FBI rented the whole hotel for like a year and a half, put in $4 million of security improvements. And
wow.
So this was a great thing. So a guy stayed in that hotel and said, you guys should check out Dallas, the Magnolia Building. The Magnolia Building is kind of iconic for downtown Dallas with Absolutely. The former headquarters of Mobil that has the flying red horse on top.
Yes.
So we came down to look at that, and my partner, Steve Holtz, and I wound up buying the Magnolia and the Davis building, respectively.
Now, when you come into a building that has seen its heyday, do you see beyond the peeling paint? I mean, you're able to see something that others can't.
Well, I thought there was a movement back to the center that was happening nationwide. And I'd seen it in Seattle, I'd seen it in Denver, and Portland, other cities. And I thought, and it's, it's the Seinfeld generation. When I was growing up, the TV programs I watched were Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, that celebrated the suburban lifestyle.
Right.
And then, but now the people in their 30s and 40s grew up on Seinfeld and Friends and Cheers that
Sex
celebrate.
and the City.
Yeah, it's the downtown. So anyway, I perceived that was coming.
Was it one of those things, if you build it, they will come? Did you say, okay, I know nobody's down here yet, but they will be. Give them something to do, and they'll be here.
That's what we thought.
Well, you were right.
It turned out to be right.
Well, okay, so let's talk about you and I first met when you opened up your first hotel in Dallas. Tell us about that project.
That's a cool building built in 1925. It was the original Santa Fe Railroad Terminal Warehouse. It's where Hager got started. He was this immigrant that came across the border, and he left to selling overalls and started Hager Clothing in that building. But it had been empty for about 20 years. So a group called the Sava Group, who are our partners, owned it, and we decided to joint venture with them and made it into a loft hotel.
And it's beautiful. It really has a cool, hip vibe to it. I'm sure you learned a lot from that project that brought you into your latest and greatest project. Tell us about the Lorenzo.
The Lorenzo is interesting. It was a hotel that was built in 1971 just south of the convention center in downtown. It was a Ramada, and it kind of stood there by itself all alone, and it had fallen on hard times, had lost its franchise. It had fame because that's where Tina Turner split from Ike. They came to Dallas for a concert and were staying at the Statler Hilton, and as he beat her up on the way in the limousine, she decided that was it. And so when he fell asleep in the Statler Hilton, she hightailed it across the road, and they put her up in that hotel. So,
and you actually have celebrated that room that she stayed in. Is that right?
Yes, we have. That's going to be one of our themed suites. It's not done yet, but the hotel is done and open, and we've transformed it into kind of a hip and cool, edgy hotel, very boutique.
Well, when people watch this later on YouTube, we're going to have a bunch of video sharing this with them. But kind of walk us through the hotel and talk about some of the things that you've done to really bring life to this historic hotel.
Well, there's tons of art in it. Our thinking is that it used to be people, when they were looking for a hotel, were looking for an expected experience, something that they could rely on, that they knew was coming. And today we think people may be more interested in discovery and in experiencing something different. And so that's what we've got. We've got a unique, creative art experience, very Artcentric hotel.
And one of my favorite stories I'd like you to share with the audience is as they were I guess taking down some walls above the pool, you saw a structure and said, "Wait, stop. Don't take that down."
Right. They had built an annex that was adjacent to the main hotel building that was kind of crammed into the site, and the pool was an indoor pool, so the lobby smelled kind of like the Y. And we decided that building had to go. But we could keep the pool and make it into an outdoor pool. It's now like a resort pool. So you can stay in our downtown hotel and experience a resort-type setting for the pool. But we left the steel frame structure up. And now we've got this huge chandelier that's 20 feet in diameter that hangs over the pool. We've got blue mannequins up there on the superstructure. So it's kind of a fun deal.
It's delightful. For those of you who haven't had a chance to experience it yet, you need to go down to the Lorenzo. Describe where it is again, Larry.
It's just 2 blocks south of City Hall on Ackard Street, 1011 South Ackard, about 2 blocks south of the Convention Center. It's at the intersection of I-30 and Ackard. So it's just on the south side of downtown.
And they have a cool bar area. And one of my favorite things is as you are checking in, there's a little kind of a ramp area with eyeballs that blink at you. Why don't you explain that?
Well, the eyeballs kind of became one of our things. There was a girl who was shooting eyeballs, Angela Antonsen, and in the Aloft Hotel for a cosmetics commercial.
Okay. And
we saw photographs of those eyeballs up close, and they were cool. So we put them on the 12th floor where we had some stucco walls. So we put eyeball images up there, and they're going to be uplit. And now we have them in TVs that are kind of flashing, blinking eyes as you walk up that ramp.
Well, it seems like every time you turn around in the hotel, you're just amazed that there's just another piece of art that blends beautifully into the hotel and gives you I want to say, kind of a cool, urban, funky vibe that I think will become really the hot spot in Dallas.
Yeah, we have at the end of that ramp is an image that Angela Garrison, a local photographer, shot. And we have a lot of local artists. Albert Sherbarth is one of them, Rick Maxwell, Jim Bowman, many local artists that are involved.
You were giving me a tour the other day, and as we were walking around the hotel, you were pointing out how you had painted some of the things that others would consider an eyesore. You saw art. Why don't you explain?
That's a local artist named Jared Davies. We got him to paint. There's a big gas main. We have electrical transformers behind the hotel that normally you would try to screen off and hide. And rather than do that, we made those canvases. I was reminded of Centre Pompidou in Paris, where the building is painted, all the pipes are going up, are exposed and painted these brilliant colors. And so we had him do that.
And you're really creating I think a new gateway to the South Dallas, I guess, or what would you call it? That neighborhood has a name.
The Cedars in Southern Dallas, really. Yeah. And the city has a Southern Dallas initiative. They're really pushing that, and we're sort of the transition point between downtown and the Cedars in Southern Dallas.
Wow. Well, I congratulate you, Larry. I hope you'll come back again. The website is the Lorenzo Hotel.com is the website, and of course we're going to have video up on YouTube shortly. Larry, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. When we come back, the changing landscape of healthcare and what one hospital is doing to get back to the basics of patient care.
More of the Jeff Crilley Show coming up.